Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, showing a fire danger chart, and this is from June 8th, last Monday, and showing a little bit of extreme there along the Yukon River and the upper Yukon River area, with the biggest area of high to very high fire danger from the Fairbanks area on up into the Yukon Flats. But also some high fire danger areas to very high over the Seward Peninsula, up over the Noatak Valley, and then along the Yukon Delta out to the coast. Looking at today's fire danger map, 85 active fires currently going on as about midday today, with a total number of acres burned statewide at 90,201, and that's being updated actually by the minute. And for the fire danger, though, you can see it's much improved out to the west, over the western interior, with cool, wet conditions, showers, rainfall occurring there. And actually expanding a little bit there, still some extreme fire dangers along the Yukon River, mostly over the Yukon Flats area, with high to very high fire danger along the Dalton Highway down into the Fairbanks area. And the forecast, especially along the Dalton Highway, near the fire that's across the highway there a couple of times. Outlook for the weekend's hot and dry with highs in the lower 80s, and that's actually good for much of the upper Yukon Valley area there, extending down towards Fairbanks. Afternoon temperatures into the evening in the lower 80s, with minimum relative humidities in the teens, under 20%, and then scattered thunderstorm activity that develops will result in erratic winds and gusty winds when the showers get close and near the cells, and also northeast winds over the ridges could make things kind of complicated fire behavior-wise. Anyway, moving on to the next chart here, showing Ahnetoovik Pass facing south-facing Ahnetoovik Pass. Anyway, pretty good showers rolled through there this afternoon, with moderate to locally heavy rainfall. At the actual reporting station, they picked up just about 0.15 of an inch, but that's good for a wetting rain. Some of the right under the shower itself probably didn't quite get a soaking rain, which would be a half an inch, but right under these showers you get pretty good rainfall occurring for a short period of time, but it's not very widespread up across that area. And for the hazardous weather graphics here, we've got no watches, warnings, or advisories anywhere around the state for the next 24 hours and likely longer. And Bering Sea, nothing but high pressure, light winds. If there are any warnings out there, it'd be for low clouds and fog with no wind through the weekend. But we don't carry warnings for that. Otherwise, but the aviation unit carries air mets for things like that, but that doesn't qualify as a public warning. So on to satellite imagery, you can see kind of a circulation there associated with upper low pressure over the western or northwest part of the state, Western Brooks Range, and that kicking off some showers up in that area, and that's from Ahnetoovik Pass westward, with some shower activity showing up on the western Arctic coast this afternoon. Nothing on the heavy side, except under the convection in the mountainous terrain. Some showers and thunderstorms around Fairbanks earlier today, with locally breezy conditions and possible hail. Didn't see any reports of any. And also over the eastern Copper River Basin, eastern Alaska Range, down into the Wrangles, no more than about 1/10 to 1/1500 of an inch in the showers that developed there, and isolated thunderstorms as mid-afternoon in that area, but some areas could have had more. And then showers mostly over the southern panhandle, but nothing too terribly heavy, with both Wrangell and Ketchikan having 0.03 of an inch, and those are the two heavier amounts I could find of a known location. Otherwise, fair in the Gulf of Alaska. It was clear, sunshine, Kodiak Island, light winds south central Alaska, Cook Inlet into the Kuskokwim Valley, and temperatures rising to the upper 70s at mid-afternoon, both at Nenana and Manly Hot Springs, 78 at Manly and at 77 Nenana. And so it may top out nearer into the lower 80s there before the day is done. And a weak front brought some light rain to the Pribilof Island, St. Paul, St. George, on back to the eastern Aleutians, with the main low center circulating there near Adak. And roll this through, and you can see that's really not moving a whole lot. Appears to be dropping to the south. Let me back it up there. About 1,002 millibar low, almost right on top of Adak today. Widespread area, low clouds, fog, and drizzle near the low center, and also out in advance of the front, along in advance of the front, kind of banking up to a lesser extent along the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. But that resulting in some pretty good IFR out there. And dense fog up around the western part of St. Lawrence Island around Gamble. Visibility quarter mile this afternoon. And fog extending up through the Bering Strait, where Tin City had a half mile in fog. Showers western Arctic coast. Thunderstorms in areas there, especially the green shaded areas, mountainous terrain, eastern or upper Tanana Valley 40 mile country. Nothing too widespread by mid-afternoon. And showers mainly over the southern southeast coast with fair conditions, a lot of sunshine. Cook Inlet, Anchorage, Manuscus, the Sitna Valley, with building afternoon queue over the mountains. For tonight, thunderstorms will be on the diminishing side, and along with the showers, pretty good over the interior, decreasing clouds and generally clear with a lot of fog and low clouds anywhere along the Arctic coast, right down through the Bering Strait into the Bering Sea. Add some light rain and drizzle for the Alaska Peninsula, eastern Aleutians, with that ever-weakening front there. That extends up to the Pribilofs once again. Be dry, but a lot of low clouds and fog for the western central Aleutians, and less shower activity over the Panhandle. Maybe some breaks clearing occurring. No change from the North Gulf Coast to Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay. You see a warm front out there right on the edge of the picture. That stays a non-factor and just drops off, slides off to the east-southeast. High pressure controls the western Bering. That low slides southeastward to near Unalaska Island or over Dutch Harbor tonight. That'll keep it on the drizzly, rainy side for the Alaska Peninsula, Akuan Island area, maybe up to southwest Kodiak Island, along with a weak remnant trough there for the Pribilof Islands into the southwest coast. Some showers, low clouds and fog through the day Saturday. All the Arctic coast, all of the Bering Sea, lots of IFR out there. Light winds and maybe a few isolated showers developing in the afternoon for the Kenai Peninsula, but temperatures getting up into the mid-60s to lower 70s in the Susitna Valley, into the Anchorage area, and near 80 up over the northeast interior with 70s, much like today, and afternoon showers again for the Panhandle. Outlook for Sunday, showery, mostly cloudy for the southeast coast, especially in the afternoon. Scattered to isolated thunderstorms developing over interior Alaska with showers possible over the upper Tanana Valley 40 mile country, especially in the afternoon hours, but temperatures a little warmer, rising into the lower 80s over the upper Yukon Valley, well into the 70s over the central and eastern interior, even south of the mountains. So Sitna Valley could see mid to upper 70s for the afternoon highs. Now probably extend down into the Kenai Peninsula as far as 70s goes. A little cooler as you head down the inlet to just upper 50s for Kodiak Island. And showers continue with unsettled conditions due to a very weak system there over the Fox Islands, but lots of low clouds and fog over the Bering Sea, up through the Bering Strait and the Arctic coast. Lows tonight, pretty mild, 48 to 53, warmest over the upper Yukon Valley down in toward Fairbanks and North Pole, Nenana, otherwise 40s everywhere else. Highs tomorrow, 75 to 80, central eastern interior, including Eagle with upper 60s or mid-60s to mid-70s, south central Alaska, Valdez near 70. And Sunday morning lows, even milder, just upper 50s for the Fort Yukon and Chukchitik areas, with lower to mid-50s central interior and 50s right on down the lower Yukon River Valley area, otherwise upper 40s for Bristol Bay, mid-40s Alaska Peninsula, lower 40s out over the Aleutians and Pribilofs, upper 30s for the St. Lawrence Island, and right around the freeze point there for the central and eastern Arctic coast, 45 to 55 for the Panhandle. Afternoon highs warmer again, 70, maybe 80 to 85 for the upper Yukon Valley, 75 to 82 for the central interior. and mid-70s likely for the Susitna Valley down into the Manuska Valley and Kenai Peninsula area, with 60s along the southeast coast.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
First line weather graphics Saturday morning, marginal VFR, western central Arctic coast, IFR. They're off the northwest coast through the Bering Strait, but not quite making it to St. Lawrence Island. Lots of IFR out over the Bering Sea. And all of the Aleutians along the south coast of the Alaska Peninsula, marginal VFR southwest Kodiak Island, and the Panhandle. Otherwise, from the Gulf of Alaska, North Gulf Coast, Bristol Bay, northward, all the way to the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, VFR. VFR through the afternoon, except for the southeast coast there, inland areas, where it'll be marginal VFR from Dixon Entrance on up to Lynn Canal Glacier Bay. IFR right along the central and eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Looks like VFR on the west side. No change out over the Bering Sea, except maybe a little less IFR for the Aleutians, but still socked in for the Pribilofs, Fox Islands, south side of the Alaska Peninsula. A little more extensive marginal VFR now up the east side of Kodiak Island. And for Sunday morning, marginal VFR all of Kodiak Island, northward to Port Moller, Seldovia, maybe into Kachemak Bay, definitely into Kamishak Bay, and IFR, western Alaska Peninsula, westward to Shemya, and Pribilof, St. Matthew Island, north side of St. Lawrence Island, up through the Bering Strait, southeast Chukchi Sea, and the eastern Beaufort Sea coast. Otherwise, VFR in the interior, that continues through Sunday afternoon. The only difference is some increasing marginal VFR, moisture working in from the north, or from the eastern North Gulf, or from the North Gulf Coast into the Wrangell Mountains and eastern Copper River Basin, but staying south of the Alaska Range, so VFR in the interior. Marginal VFR right along the Arctic coast. Not much change again out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians, that maybe some, instead of IFR, we've got VFR on the south coast of the Alaska Peninsula. And for passes, Anatuvik and Adigan, VFR, both days, both Saturday and Sunday, and VFR for the weekend, Lake Clark and Merrill on either approach, and rainy VFR, windy VFR. Isabel, Sailing's visibility is unlimited for both Isabel and Mentasta, but early on, but there'll probably be some afternoon cumulus developing both days for really many of the passes here. Mentasta VFR, Tanita VFR, Portage, good VFR tomorrow. Chilkoot and White, though, looks a little on the marginal side throughout the entire day, Saturday. Freezing levels tomorrow morning, about 4,000 feet there, a little cool air mass there with that upper level low that's slowly moving northeast there for the western North Slope, western Arctic coast, and 4,000 to 6,000 feet out over the Bering Sea. The coolest over the central Aleutians, and about 4,000 to 6,000 feet over the Panhandle, coolest toward Dixon Entrance. Icing, areas of mix, freezing levels 16,000 feet along a band there from the southwest coast up across the Kuskokwim Valley. Some of that extending down the Talkeetnas, but eastward along the eastern Alaska Range, and then mostly the eastern Panhandle. Really not much of a threat there, and lesser potential for icing along the Alaska Peninsula. And the jet stream showing upper level low over the eastern Aleutians, one weak one over the Kenai Peninsula and up over the western Arctic coast. And as a consequence of flow, Pacific jet staying south of the forecast area, and 9,000 feet showing that upper low off the western Arctic coast, and larger low there south of the Aleutian, south of the Fox Islands. And we've got southeast flow, really not that strong at all, maybe 10 to 20 knots along the southwest coast there, Kuskokwim Bay, Nunivak Island, but light and variable over the interior, kind of some easterlies along the Alaska Range, but not all that strong. And pretty light over the Panhandle, light and variable, ridging over the Gulf of Alaska up to the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula. Western Aleutians, light winds. Northerly, though, for the central and eastern Aleutians, but on the light side. Same pattern, 3,000 feet, really not much in the way of any significant winds expected, with high pressure over the northwest interior there, over the Kobuk Valley, another high just centered south of the Gulf of Alaska, but ridging into the southern Alaska. Light northwest breeze along the southeast coast, light and variable over the interior. And southeast Alaska Peninsula, light though, turning easterly for the Pribilofs, and then light northerlies for the central Aleutians. Turbulence-wise, NSTF, no significant turbulence forecast around the state for tomorrow, and maybe even Sunday as well with the light wind conditions. And after the break, I'll be back with a look at the marine forecast and other interesting information.
Welcome back to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm meteorologist Dave Snider, and joining us here today is Eric Stevens from the Geographic Information Network of Alaska at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, GINA for short. And Eric, you frequently come on the show to tell us about these really cool things that we're doing with satellites over Alaska and how we can use these really awesome tools. But I'm thinking all the while there has to be a mad scientist somewhere working on the next cool thing in the satellite laboratory. What is being developed today?
Right. Well, you know, when I was a kid growing up in the boonies in North Dakota there, on Sunday after church, the old people, like my parents and their parents, would gather and have coffee and talk. And I kind of eavesdropped on them a little bit. And the theme of a lot of these conversations seemed to be, well, isn't it amazing what they can do these days, someone would say.
Sure.
And I was thinking, well, I don't know, I was too young.
Right.
Well, now I'm old enough in the weather satellite business.
You can remember when.
The new generation of weather satellites, I'm starting to say, isn't it amazing what they can do these days? Because it's always improving.
Yes.
Maybe an analogy here is like television. Television started in black and white, then it went to color. Analog signal transitioned to digital here a number of years ago. Standard definition becomes high definition. Right. Well, weather satellites are changing too. First weather satellites went up around 1960, not that long ago. No. It's comparatively young science. And every time a new series of satellite is launched, we learn from the past, so the mad scientists decide, well, we could make the next satellite even better in such and such a respect.
Yes.
And now the United States is on the verge of launching, or in progress of launching, a series of new geostationary satellites that are better than ever before. Okay. Let's take a look at some of the previews of what these new satellites can do.
Peek inside the lab here, okay.
Yeah, and so we'll peek in, and here are some mad scientists and mad technicians dressed in bunny suits. This is, believe it or not, this is the business end of a weather satellite under construction in a clean room. You don't want a speck of dust on the lens of a weather satellite's camera. So this is done in a clean environment. They are building a geostationary satellite there.
Oh, cool.
This new generation of satellites, if you had to answer the question, why are these better? Why do we care? Okay. You could answer it with 3 words: faster, better, more. The new generation of satellites are faster than the older ones. The images are sharper, they're better, and there's more spectral channels. We'll talk about that.
Any one of these called Steve Austin? It sounds faster, better, stronger.
Yeah. You know what though? These things cost more than $6 million.
Yeah, I'm sure.
They're pricey, but they are an essential tool for the Weather Service to fulfill its mission of protecting lives and property.
Exactly.
You got to have the tool to do the job, and it helps all of us when we get the accurate forecast, the warning in time, and this is the tool. Faster. On left here, we see what the old generation of satellites could scan in 5 minutes. On the right, that's what you get in 5 minutes, the whole planet, or at least one side of it. So it's faster. That means you can take more images over a given amount of time and make smoother movie loops out of that. Because animating movie loops really helps you highlight a feature that maybe you can't see as well in a single image.
Absolutely does, yep.
Let's zoom into a small piece of real estate like Texas.
Sure.
And we can see here a satellite that has a 1-minute movie loop visible light. You can see thunderstorms boiling there.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, the rippling of the top of the thunderstorm. This is a fun movie loop. We're going to be able to see things like this more and more often because of the new satellites being generated. Some things are only evident in animation. So that's faster. Well, what's better? We're able to now have sharper imagery than before. The Japanese have a satellite that uses the same imager that is on the new generation of satellites that America is launching too. An imager, that's just a word for camera. It's the camera on a weather satellite. We have something called the Advanced Baseline Imager.
Sounds important.
ABI. It's important enough it has an acronym. Everything's an acronym. Well, an ABI-like instrument is here over the Western Pacific, and we can see this color image. This is what a human eye might see if you were riding on the satellite. But it's a little bit fuzzy. With new technology, you can post-process the image taken by the satellite to highlight and sharpen some of the features. So this image here of the Western Pacific then becomes this image. Thanks to the processing techniques, This is the newest technology. So we've got a new satellite that can provide better data than ever before. And on the ground, we can process it better than before as well to really sharpen up the imagery and to give us a better view of the weather than ever before. So faster and better and more. What do we mean by more? Well, on the older generation of satellites, the imager, the camera, had 5 slices of the spectral pie, visible imagery, infrared imagery, something we can't see from the human eye. A lot of different slices of the pie. We're going from 5. The new imager has 16 slices. Each slice has its own relevance. Some are best for volcanic ash, for smoke, for dust, for telling the difference between smoke and dust, which can look similar under some infrared channels, but other ones bring out certain things. All of these 16 bands are important. In fact, some of the mad scientists, they didn't want 16, they wanted 24. There's always more you can do. But that'll be the next generation of satellites. So now we say, isn't it amazing what we can do these days? And you know what? It makes you think, well, what's the future going to be like too? It's so important to be able to know what's going on now in the weather. If you're going to forecast the future, you got to know where things are now. And satellites are the way to see that, especially in Alaska, where we don't have as many observations down on the ground. The satellites fill in the holes.
Yeah, really important stuff. And I love hearing about what we can see right now, but I love thinking about what is possible in the future. It's amazing stuff. And since you paid for it, it's a good time to learn about it. If you'd like, check out the website at www.goes-r.gov. And as I understand, it's a really easy website to use.
Oh yeah, a lot of good information about what these new satellites mean to Americans. And it's the Weather Service's mission to protect lives and property, and this is the tool how to do it.
Cool stuff, Eric. Thanks so much for sharing that with us today, and thank you for joining us right here in Alaska Weather Facts. We'll see you next time. And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Today's sea ice analysis, updated June 12th, 2020, showing pretty jagged shorefast ice on the north side of the Seward Peninsula there on in toward Kotzebue Sound. And still some ice there east and northeast, heavier ice of St. Lawrence Island, but Norton Sound empty, sea ice free on up to and just north of the Bering Strait, and continuing to thin out along the western Arctic coast, but still also on the north side of the Barrier Islands there on the east side. And for the coastal water forecast for the Panhandle on the south coast, light westerlies tomorrow at 10 knots, 4 to 5 foot seas, west-northwest breeze, 15 knots on the north coast, southerlies at 15 in the Lynn Canal, and south to southeast, 10 knots for the central, southern inside waters, pretty slight seas at 2 feet. And then for Sunday, Stevens Passage, south at 5, 15 knots are clearing straight from the south. And Lynn Canal in the afternoon, southerlies, maybe some higher gusts at 20 knots with 4 foot seas. Otherwise, pretty light winds on the north coast, all out of the southeast, 5 to 10 knots, central and south coast, southeast 15 knots with 5 foot seas. Cook Inlet, south winds 10 knots, 2 to 3 foot seas. Prince William Sound, southwest at 10 with 2 foot seas. West-southwest 20 knots for the North Gulf Coast with 4 to 5 foot seas. Kamishak Bay, Barren Islands, southwest at 15. Sunday, southwest at 10 for Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands. Southwest 15 knots for Cook Inlet, especially in the afternoon with 3 foot seas. Otherwise, generally a westerly drift at 10 knots for the North Gulf Coast. Seas really laid down at 2 to 3 feet and variable to south at 10 for Prince William Sound. Bristol Bay tomorrow, Saturday, northeast at 15. Alaska Peninsula, easterlies 20 knots, 3 to 5 foot seas. And southwest at 15 knots for Shelikof Strait. Otherwise, easterlies at 10 for the east side of Kodiak Island with 3 foot seas. And for Sunday, Alaska Peninsula, east-northeast at 10, light westerlies for Bristol Bay and Shelikof Strait, both at 10 knots, northeast 15, east side of Kodiak Island, on down to Castle Cape. And for the Aleutians, out west, pretty light winds, call it northwest from Kiska to Shimmy at 15 knots, Shimmy in toward Adak, northwest at 15. And then for Adak and Atka, also northeast, northwest winds, 15 knots. and kind of a variable 10 to 15 knot wind pattern for the Fox Islands. So not bad wind-wise either today or either Saturday or Sunday for the Aleutians. You can see Sunday here, northeast 10 knots. All areas from Shemya all the way over down Alaska Island, and seas laying down pretty good, 2 to 5 feet. And for the southwest coast, north to northeast at 15 knots, northeast 15 for the Pribilofs, northeast at 10 St. Matthew Island with 3-foot seas there. Really light winds, northern Bering Sea, all of the Bering Sea actually. 10 knots for St. Lawrence Island, 2-foot seas north at 10 in Norton Sound. And then pick it up some on Sunday. We'll go small craft advisories for the Yukon Delta coast. Northerlies up to 25 knots and 5-foot seas. 20-knot winds even in Norton Sound, seas 4 feet, and northwest 20 for St. Lawrence Island. But variable to south at 10 for the Pribilofs, north 15. St. Matthew Island, Kuskokwim Delta coast northwest, 15 knots, 2-foot seas. Eastern Boulevard Sea coast, easterlies 15 to 20 knots, strongest toward Demarcation Point. Seas in open waters, 2 feet. West side and central coast, southeast 5 to 15 knots, and then 20-knot winds from Cape Beaufort down to Wales from the south and southeast. Sunday, northwest 15 knots, Wales to Cape Thompson to Cape Beaufort, southeast at 10. And then the western Arctic coast, west-east at 15. Central coast, east at 10, and east-northeast winds at 10 knots for the east side. For tonight again, isolated showers, those will end on the western Arctic coast, and just some isolated shower activity possible on the east side, nothing significant. Maybe some thunderstorms creeping into the eastern North Slope area back to the Brooks Range, but generally fair with decreasing any shower activity beyond the decrease over the interior, as well as the Panhandle stays unsettled, foggy, rainy, drizzly for the Alaska Peninsula, Eastern Aleutians, and Pribilofs. That continues, but to a lesser extent tomorrow, but a lot of low clouds, fog covering the Bering Sea, Aleutians up through the strait and along the Arctic coast. Thunderstorms develop once again there, especially in the green shaded area and the mountainous terrain. Otherwise, temperatures 70s, lower 80s over the north and northeast interior and central interior, and showers again, mostly cloudy skies, maybe some clearing for the Panhandle, sunny and warmer south central.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.